Well, Neil, a defeat today. How frustrating was that for you?
It's frustrating. Obviously, we've lost another game of football. Our form's been very poor in recent weeks. You know, and trying to put your finger on why. We've gone from a team that was, I think, 5 or 6 not conceding a goal to a team that every time, you know, balls pumped forward, we suddenly look as if we're all over the place. It's time to get to the bottom of that. You know, as I said early on in the season, we were probably less dominant in games and winning. To now where we're, we're dominant today, but first half I thought we had a lot of the football we have in the last few games, but lost the games, you know, and it's a case of sitting down trying to work out why that is. You know, we've analysed everything to the nth degree, if I'm honest, looked at everything, gone through it meeting after meeting, trying to get the right formula, but it just sees teams now sit back, it's a few long balls up to their front lads, they're lively, get around second ball and we look a little bit lost. Maybe we're trying to play too much in wrong areas. You know, maybe we should just smash it forward a little bit more, get behind teams a little bit more, play percentages and squeeze up the pitch. But as I say, at the moment it's results are woeful, you know, if I'm honest. Absolutely woeful, far from good enough to lose again today, you know. It's devastating, really. You know, I'm absolutely gutted.
You dominated the ball, particularly that opening 25 minutes or so, and you had enough chances, I thought, to win maybe 3 games of football in that opening 25. But it's just that cutting edge, perhaps, that's lacking.
I don't know if it's just a cutting edge, John, because yeah, we had opportunities and people have snatched at things, etc. And then, you know, John's probably scored at his hardest chance when he's actually finished the goal that he has scored. I just look at them, you know, once they concede, and it just looks like everything just drains from out of them. When we're talking, like, you know, you look at the back four, got a, you know, Football League back four in the main, you know, a Football League goalkeeper, Football League central midfield player, you know, so it's confidence is a funny old thing, and at the moment we've got a total lack of it. But I keep saying, and I'll say it to them, I know the fans aren't happy, and I appreciate that, fully understand that. You know, I'm far from happy. You know, but if anyone who knows me, and I know the people have quickly got to know me that work here, you know, we work very hard behind the scenes, you know, to try and put that right, and we leave no stone unturned to try and get that right for the football club and the fans, because I know how important it is to the fans, particularly today when you've turned out and it was 4,700 and something. You know, it's an incredible crowd on you know, just before Christmas, freezing cold. But we haven't been able to play our part in terms of winning the game for them.
The opening goal today, just before half time, it's a goal that we're never going to score, because it was a weird one, wasn't it? What actually happened?
I don't know. We've gone to try and win a header again in midfield like we did the other week and missed it. It's gone out wide, and apparently it's an own goal from Paul Connolly, I'm told. He tells me. But I don't know. It just seemed to a cross, which I thought Andy was coming to take, and next minute it's in the top corner. So, but nothing surprised me. If the ref would have headed it in, I probably would have. That wouldn't surprise that either. But we are where we are, but we can't keep looking at excuses. You know, I've just said in there, the only people get you out of messes are football players, and we've got to work hard to get ourselves out of the mess that we're in. We've a long time now without winning a game, which is not good. You know, and we've got to come up with a formula that gets us winning football matches, because people, you know, are looking at the last 6 or 7 weeks, 6 or 7 games, which, you know, haven't been good enough. But before that, you know, this is a hard league. You're not going to go out and win. But before that, you know, we were winning games. We were strong. We looked defensively sound. But all of a sudden, we've gone all over the place, and we've got to get back to what we were. Hard to beat. Maybe not as, I wouldn't say easy on the eye, but you know what I'm saying. You know, passing it round as much as what we are doing in the wrong areas at times, and get back to, you know, rolling the sleeves up, getting in people's faces, and get back to that. But it's, I'll be honest, I've looked at many things and you know, analysed everything. But the biggest thing for today is we've lost the game in front of 4,700 odd people at home. which isn't good enough.
You clawed your way back in, didn't you, at 1-1, and I think the feeling around the ground was there's only going to be one winner today, and it was going to be Stockport County, because it looked as though tails were up and all the rest of it, but it was actually FC that responded better to the equaliser.
I think they did, yeah, and I think that goes down to our lack of confidence and lack of belief. That we've scored, and I just looked at us running back, and it looked as if we were more almost apologetic, for equalising at times. But you've got to stop the cross, and you've got to stop. It's a great header, to be fair, to Greaves, but you've got to stop the cross, and we were too nice. We were too nice defensively. We weren't stopping runners, blocking people's runs. But as you say, once you get 1-1, place lifts. You think you're in the ascendancy. And as I just said to the lads in there, for 10 or 15 minutes, you've got to dig in and be horrible for 10 or 15 minutes. But we weren't. We've let an easy cross come in, and we've let the number 9 get a cross and score. And I think that's the main issue at the moment. Is people aren't doing the jobs as well as what they were 6 or 7 weeks ago. Not people are getting ahead of the men, and I think teams have looked at us and thought, just keep sticking it on top of Stockport and second ball, and keep sticking it in. They'll play lovely football. They'll pass it round. But when you get a regain, stick it in on top of them, and second ball, and you'll get something. And if you look at Chorley, if you look at Solihull, if you look today, Lowestoft, I wouldn't say too much because it was more about the pitch and mistakes. That's what's undone us really. But we've got to keep working. No good moaning and groaning. You've got to keep working and put it right.
I think I know you well enough now to know you probably won't use this as an excuse, but I know your preparation this week has been disrupted by the on-off saga of Keighren Jackson. It was off in the end, and how disruptive has that been?
As you said, John, I'm not going to use that as an excuse. It's not good, but it's not the reason why we've lost the game today. He hasn't been played for us before, so I've got a good group of players in there. They've got to stand up and be counted, as we all have. The Keighren incident hasn't been great, but that'll be dealt with separately from this. We can't use that as any reason why we've lost the game today, or why we're on the run that we're on. Who can put the finger on it? Because nobody can tell me we haven't got a good group of players. I don't care what anyone tells me. You've done this, you've done that. This is your group. All the things that people. It is my group, and I'm proud that it is my group of players. I believe in every single one of them. But we need to stick together, and I'm going to stick together with them, and we're going to work hard. Anyone who knows me is, I don't do negatives. It is very bleak at the moment. Don't get me wrong, and there's no one gets more down after a football match than me. But I'm a great believer in, if you're going to get out of things, you work harder, and you keep working until you get it right, and you will get your rewards. And that's what we'll continue to do.
It was a record crowd today for the Conference North in a league game at least, but in a way, are you relieved now after 7 without a win that the next fixture is away from home in a funny way? Does that actually help you, do you think, to take some of that pressure off and maybe rebuild that confidence?
I don't know. I do think the lads struggle a little bit at home at the moment. When it's great playing at home when you're winning. You know what I mean? The fans are unbelievable, and but I'm sure it does play on people's minds when you're not. Likewise. But you probably play football home and away, so you've got to get used to it. You're at a big football club, that's the beauty of it. We're in this National North League for a reason. I think that's one thing we've got to realise. And teams are going to come and have a go at you, particularly at home. And I'm sure that's, as I've just said to the lads in there, they'll be telling them get after them for 25 minutes. They haven't scored, crowd will get on the back. All the usual cliches that people say. And at the moment, we're falling for it. We've got to be bigger than that. We've got to be better than that, but we've got to stick together. There's no good me going and screaming and shouting in dressing rooms. We've got a good group of players, that probably in the first 6 or 7 games, in the main, were very, very good. But effective more than great, I would say. Got the job done. Where now we're the other way. We're probably a little bit easier on the eye, but how can I put it? Very loose in terms of our mentality and our defensive capabilities at the moment. And when I say defensive capability, I mean as a team. But as I said before, and I'll keep saying it till I'm blue in the face, you stick together in the bad times, and you work hard, and you work hard, and you work harder as a group. And who knows, once you turn that corner. If I was sitting looking at players who I didn't think had the ability, and we look we're young and inexperienced, but we've got senior players in there who should have been through this mill before, and I keep saying I don't do negatives. Yeah, I'm very down as you probably can be in football. But I've got a big expectation. I've got a big job in terms of what the fans expect at this football club. I'll never duck that challenge. Never will do. No one will ever see me duck that challenge. I'll stand here every week. I'll stand out there every week. Because at the end of the day, for whatever people might think about me or what I am or what I've achieved or not achieved, I'm trying to do my best for this football club and this group of supporters, and that will continue. Just
finally, I've got to ask you because the fans are asking. Christian Dennis, he's on loan at Macclesfield. I know he's not scored today, but he has scored plenty of goals this season. Conference Player of the Year, of the month rather. Is it a decision you now regret, perhaps, that you didn't retain Christian's services, or was it inevitable that he was going to move on?
I don't think it was inevitable he was going to move on, but I think before we cast aspersions, I think people have to have the full details. And I'm not shy saying it, that when I came into this football club, we had 9 players on 52-week contracts, and unheard of, and more than half the budget was already spent, so I've got to make big decisions very quickly because I didn't come in till probably towards the end of May, and when you've got half the budget, or, already being liabilities already spent, you've got lads out within that budget out injured, lads getting paid right throughout the summer. I've got to make big decisions. I can't go and spend money that the club haven't got. I can't go and bring in a load of players and then say to the board here that, oh well, don't worry, I'll move people out as we go, because I've put the club in massive debt, and that's I've got a responsibility to the football club and its supporters. So unfortunately, the numbers that certain players were on, I had to create money effectively there and then. Because we had 9 players. Now, if I would have added what I had left to spend, I would probably wouldn't been able to bring in probably your Montroses, your O'Hanlons, your Connolly, because you've got to have a depth in the squad. You can't just have 14, 15 very good players, because as you've seen, we've lost Hairsty, we've lost other players through injury. So, I had a good chat with Christian. There's no one more made up for Christian than me, by the way. I've got a good, fine relationship. Just explain the situation. And Chris, wanted to go. Macclesfield had come in, and Christian had wanted to go and try himself in the conference full time, and I left it to the board to agree a deal with Macclesfield. And this that came out last week about we're paying a large chunk of his wages is just a load of rubbish, as you well know. In hindsight, we've got a 20 goal scorer playing in the league high. You would say, yeah, but that's hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? At that moment in time when I'm coming in end of May, beginning of June, and I've got what I had left to spend, I've got to make big decisions very, very quickly. Christian has gone. Well, you've got to look at all the facts as well. Christian's a goal scorer. We know Christian's a goal scorer. His record, not just here, Cairns and Ashton, speaks for itself. You look at the games that he played here part time. It wasn't as many as he probably would have liked, and probably Alan at the time would have liked. But Chris, has gone away in a full-time environment. I've done absolutely fantastic and made up for the lad, and I hope he gets everything that's coming to him in terms of his move and everything else, because it's good to see young players, go on and do well. I've got no... but people need to understand the facts before they start casting the... And I understand, as people say to me, it's the elephant in the room every time he scores, but that's life. You've got to make the decisions on the information that you have at that time, and... I made those decisions in good faith, knowing what I knew, and knowing that if the club had finished 13th and 11th in the 2 previous seasons, I think, you come in, 52-week contracts, paid throughout the summer, more than half your budget's already been spent. You've got to make decisions very quickly. If you said to me now, do you regret giving them, well, probably, yeah, you do, but... As I said before, you can only deal with the information that you have at that time, and if I've got to bring in players, then I've got to create money, and the way you create money is by trying to get players to move on to the football club, so we can bring more better players in. I'm not saying there's anybody here better than Christian, because there obviously isn't from a goal scoring perspective, but we have to try and bring a bigger, more effective squad in, and I'm sure if we had the form that we'd shown in the first 6 games, no one would be talking about it. But let me put on record that Christian Dennis is a fantastic footballer, you know, and I hope he goes on and gets everything that he deserves.
He's earned that right, as you're rightly saying, and could potentially get a move still in January if Macclesfield don't stand in his way. He could potentially still go quite soon.
Yeah, I haven't been that much involved in the detail. I don't like talking about other clubs and other clubs' players and trying to put pressure on managers or put pressure on other clubs. Not the way I do things. You know what I mean? And there's articles gone in the press. That's not the way I do things. You know. The club will do the best that they possibly can, and I'm sure you know that will be the best for the club, the player, and you know Macclesfield Town. I think what we've got to do is move on very quickly. You know, he's either he's going to be playing for Macclesfield or he's going to be playing in League 1, 2 or wherever he goes. And I think from a football perspective, we need to put that away now, shelve it, let the people deal with it who's dealing with it. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing here. You know, and I'm sure if Christian scores another 10, another 15, and we're not scoring goals, it'll keep coming back to haunt me and keep knocking on the door. That's decisions in life. We all make them, don't we? Will it be in our normal work, or will it be in a football club? But I've got to make informed decisions on the information I have, and that's what I did. And I still do not regret making those decisions that I had to make at that time, because we wouldn't have the players that we've got in here. Yes, they're underperforming at the moment, but they're more than capable. And
just finally, what do you do this week? Do you go on the training ground, or do you book yourself a flight to Zurich and speak to FIFA? Because you need this clearance for Keighren, don't you?
We do, but I don't think, you know, don't get me started on the international clearance thing, because I think it's just the biggest. We've got a club 60 miles down the road who probably closer than most of our home game, our away games. Obviously I've managed in Wales, so I know the process, but the old process was just a case of filling in a form, send it to the English FA, they sent it to the Welsh FA, the Welsh FA would ring the club up, say you're happy for him to go, they'd say yeah, and it'd be done.
Yeah.
Now every bar Sepp Blatter I think's got to put a tick in the box, and you know, I feel sorry for the people who've been with
as well.
Yeah, for Keighren. Keighren never played last Saturday, hasn't played this Saturday, can't play for Wrexham. So the boys had 2 weeks. We've had to pay. You know, we'll probably have to pay 2 weeks' money with no footballer. But you know, we'd be glad to obviously have him in the squad. But you know, let's not think Keigren's going to come in and be our saviour. We've got the players in that dressing room to be our saviour. We've just got to get the best out of them and get them working. You know, and also say to the supporters, because they're the key ones in this, because they have been through a lot. And when I've come in, they've probably thought, well, he's won this league with Chester, he's done this, he's done that. We have underperformed. I'll openly, we've made a mistake with Christian, but as I said before, we've gone on the information we've got. It's all been done with, you know, no malice. It's not. I hear people saying to me, "Oh, he's come in. He's one of Alan's." To do. I've got a great relationship with Alan, as you well know. It's not a case that you've got to make the decision that you think's right at that time on the information that you have. And all I would say is that we're working doubly hard, you know, to make sure that we get this football club right, and we will do. We will do. You know, chopping and changing hasn't helped us, but we will get it right, and we'll give these people here a football club that they can be very proud of.
Well said. Thanks for your time.
Okay.